Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the conversation series on mediation created with an aim and vision to promote awareness of mediation in the world around us and to talk about mediation and other alternative dispute resolution solutions from the perspective of a common person. We continue with a short legal disclaimer. The views expressed herein are the personal perspectives of the speakers and may or may not represent the views of the larger professional community they belong to. The conversation series aims to provide a general overview and awareness of the subject matter involved and may not be construed as a legal or professional advice in any manner whatsoever. The session is being recorded for wide circulation. Let me introduce the main speaker and the guest panelists for today's session on workplace mediation. We have Ms. Brinda B.J. Gaiden. Brinda B.J. Gaiden is a credentialed distinguished mediator, paralegal certified in HR management and internal HR consultant. She is also a member of the Texas Association of Mediators, Texas Mediator Credentialing Association, Garland Chamber of Commerce, Dallas Area Paralegal Association, and Garland NAACP, and was former a Dallas County election judge. Her accolades in the journey include: in January, Brinda appeared on the Tuesday's talk radio show with Queen of Hearts, Cheryl Jones, where mediation was a major topic. She was accepted into leadership Garland class with the Garland Chamber of Commerce. Brinda has had the privilege of being featured and spotlighted in Mediators Beyond Borders International's Agreeing to Disagree publication and was honored and received her Beauty of Heart Award given to 40 Dallas, Texas businesswomen. She is on the Garland, Texas Women's Business Council Steering Committee. With her internal HR consulting experience and credentials, she mediates divorce, family, real estate cases. Brinda is effective at helping businesses eliminate workplace violence. Brinda is also a proud mother of a daughter who graduated from the University of Texas at Arlington with her bachelor's in public health in December. Welcome on board, Brinda. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Good morning. Thank you. It is my honor to be here. Nice to meet you, Pusha and Dr. BC. Thank you.
Welcome, man.
Welcome. Guest mediator panelist of the day is Ms. Pushp Gupta. Pushp Gupta is a law graduate from the most prestigious law school of India, Campus Law Center, University of Delhi. It's my college also. As has done her master's in EC Commercial Laws from University of Northumbria, Newcastle, United Kingdom. She is a mediator to the Honorable Supreme Court of India, Delhi High Court and District Courts of the capital. She is an international certified mediator, International Mediation Institute, Hague, Netherlands. Some of her additional professional experiences are: she's a lead trainer Indo-British Advocacy Skills Project, certified commercial mediator, Indian Institute Corporate Affairs, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. She's a teaching faculty at for LLM mediation at Vivekanand Institute of Management Studies, New Delhi. She's a director, Association of India International Mediation and Arbitration Services, Vice President, North Mediators India. Welcome on board, Push. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. Dr. Veerbhadariya C., Associate Professor of Law at BMS College of Law, Baswanagudi, Bangalore. He has completed his education and doctorate from Bangalore University, Bangalore, Karnataka. He has a rich experience of 15 years in teaching. He was awarded with PhD on the topic Legal Regime on Contract Labor, a comparative study with reference to India and UK. His articles have been published in various books, journals of national and international repute. He was member of Board of Studies to Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Technology College, Bangalore. He is also a member of the Board of Examiner for Department of Studies in the Law, Sri Krishna Devaraya University and Bellary. Received award Shiksha Ratna Samman 2022 by Academic Research Foundation, a non-government organization registered under the Government of India. Welcome on board, Dr. VC. It's a pleasure to have you here. So we have a good panel today, and Brinda is going to tell us more about workplace mediation, which is the topic of today. So, Brenda, over to you. What is workplace mediation? What do you do out there in Dallas?
Okay, let me just start by saying one of my favorite quotes: to the world, you are one person, but to one person, you could be their world. And that goes perfect for workplace mediation. Just to give you a little history here about workplace mediation, we want to talk about what is Title VII. Title VII is the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination in every employment circumstances based on race, religion, gender, pregnancy, national origin. And this applies to all companies and corporations that have 15 employees or more. The other thing, in 2020, the legislation changed to where the protected class is also now transgender. So transgender is now part of the Title VII EEO Act. Now, who manages these processes? The processes are managed and controlled and handled by EEOC. EEOC is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. So I just wanted to give you a little background on that. So workplace mediation. Mediation is a voluntary and confidential process in which a neutral third party facilitates communication. The mediator assists the parties in resolving their disputes without telling them what to do and without taking sides. Mediation is not a court hearing, so witnesses are not required. The process is voluntary and confidential, and whatever is discussed in mediation should stay in the room and not be shared with others. The thing is, in the state of Texas, when you are working as a professional mediator or an attorney, in that capacity as a mediator, you cannot practice law or give legal advice. So that being said, just to talk about the process a little bit, once the mediation is scheduled, okay, with Fortune 500 companies, and this doesn't apply in all cases, but I'm going to talk about Fortune 500 companies and corporations. So once the mediation is scheduled, the first thing that the mediator should do is contact the attorneys. And what you want to do is contact them and make a brief introduction. What you do not do is discuss the case or the parties, and that's just for workplace redress mediations, because they want you to not be biased or have too much information. In fact, when you go into a mediation for workplace mediation, the less information you have, the better, because it will stop you from being biases. In other types of mediation and cases, that is not the case, where you would talk with the attorney and get some background information on the cases. So that's a little bit different. So the process starts with.
Sorry, I wanted to intrude in between. You just said that when the mediation has started, somebody needs to go and talk to the attorneys. So are we talking about mediation, which is there and already in the institute, or we are talking about mediation that has come to the court and now attorneys have been appointed, and this is that case?
Okay, here's what that's a good question. That's a good question. What I am talking about is that let's just say I am mediating for a Fortune 500 company. They scheduled the case. The case has already been scheduled. So I know I know who the parties are. And if I look at the case and I see that an attorney is assigned to the case, as a mediator, what I'm going to do is contact that attorney and introduce myself and just kind of let them know who I am and, you know, the process and how we're going to proceed.
Okay.
So in other types of cases, when you contact the attorney, you can discuss some things.
So that is a wonderful perspective, that first of all, attorneys are also present in workplace mediation. So there is a role of attorneys also there.
Right? Yes, and I was going to get to that. Okay, so in workplace redress mediation, when there are union and labor officials, okay, the employee will come to the table and they are required to have a union rep as their representative. Management also has an opportunity to have an official represent them as well. So when management comes to the mediation table, they or the supervisor, they will have a representative. Sometimes the representative can be an attorney and sometimes not. Sometimes the representative could just be their boss, the person that's over them. But normally, there are 4 people or more at the mediation table, and then there are instances when labor relations will appear. So you could be in a mediation with 6 to 7 people sometime.
That's a very, very good aspect, because something that came out good was from there, that in a workplace mediation, there is the role of an attorney also, somebody representing the legal side also, and the mediator is independent, sitting there to resolve the disputes. So we have both the attorneys and the mediator working coexisting and working together. Okay, that's a wonderful perspective. Please go ahead.
Okay, no worries. Then you want to start, the mediator normally starts with an opening statement where you introduce yourselves and make sure that it's okay that you use a first name basis. I'll go over some of the process. In the opening statement, what you like to do is to discuss the ground rules, but with ground rules, the parties do not have to set ground rules. It's just something that you're offering up. And some of the ground rules would be things like agreeing to speak one at a time and not look at the mediator, look at each other when you're speaking. So it's important that the mediator get there early to situate the tables and the chairs to make sure that, that the parties can see each other and things like that. Also, then there's a joint discussion where if there's a union rep and an attorney, you want to discuss, will the attorney be speaking for the supervisor, or will the supervisor and the attorney both speak? And then on the other side, will the employee and the union rep speak, or will the union rep be speaking for the employee, or will they both speak as needed? So you want to kind of clarify those things up front before the joint discussion begins. Also, there's a caucus process. So anyone can request a caucus at any time during the workplace redress mediation. However, if you, as the mediator, would like to be in the caucus, you can ask them, is it okay that I can be in the caucus with you, or would you rather me not be in the caucus? And they will let you know, yes, you can come on, or no, you cannot. And oftentimes it's helpful to caucus with both sides, but there are instances where one side do not want to caucus. So even though, as a mediator in good faith, if you caucus with one person for 30 minutes, you want to caucus with the other person for 30 minutes, but that is not always the case. So in transformative.
So in that case, do you do caucus or do you do not do caucus then? Because
okay, let me just, okay. So I want to back up and tell you that as a workplace redress mediator, we utilize transformative mediation and facilitative. There's also evaluative. So there are 3 major types of mediation: transformative, facilitative, and evaluative. So because we use transformative and facilitative, they caucus, we may or may not be in the room with them. It's up to them. There have been instances where we've caucused with one party and the other party did not want to caucus. So it's their option in transformative.
So you mean to say that there are times that the mediator is not in the room and the parties are themselves discussing things over with their attorney being present?
Absolutely. So the union rep, absolutely. The employee and the
that also spells the need and the role of an attorney in workplace mediation is very paramount. This I am asking from the perspective of a common person who does not understand what mediation is, because we are doing these conversation series to give information about workplace to common people who might not be having information, and to attorneys who will also know their role in workplace mediation. So that is why I'm reiterating and asking you these kind of questions. So I'm interrupting in between.
And I appreciate that. Now, everything that I am telling you about does not apply to evaluative mediation. Evaluative mediation is more direct, okay, where the parties talks about the strength and the weaknesses of the case. So in those instances, yes, they caucus and they stay apart. And they do what is called shuttle diplomacy, where you go back and forth, carrying information. With transformative and facilitative, we generally do not do shuttle diplomacy. In fact, with transformative mediation, companies and corporations would rather you not, because the thing is, because you have not been talking, that's a part of the reason why you're having this conflict.
Yes.
So to not be able to talk is an issue. And then if you're working together with someone, guess what? That is your day family member, whether you like it or not. if you're working with someone, they're your day family member. So what do family members do when they have conflict? They argue, but they always come back together. Well, some instances they come back together, not always. So it's one of those things to where you want to be able to talk, especially if you're talking about a divorce and there are children involved, something like that. You definitely want to do transformative mediation so that the parties will have an opportunity to stay in the room together.
Yes. So that brings us to one more important thing, that when you are doing workplace mediation, you are an independent mediator, but there are parties who are being represented by, they are not alone. So there are lesser chances of there being a imbalance, because they are adequately represented by, both the parties are represented by their own representatives, whether advocates or attorneys or independent people who are not involved in the case, so they are in their best of their intellect in guiding these parties. Is that true?
Yes, 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 I would say so. Yes.
So we want to talk to Dr. VC also here, because
Please.
I was reading your bio, and I came to the conclusion that you have also worked, and your post doctorate is in labor issues.
Yes, yes, madam.
Yes. So
So,
yeah.
please proceed, madam. I'll speak later. Please.
So, yeah, Dr. VC, how important from the Indian context, like Brinda is saying that, when there are labor issues, they are also being represented by their attorney. Because when these kind of issues happen, there are often cases where one of the parties would be having a little upper hand. So what
Yes.
are your views from whatever your study or research has been? Let's hear
Yes.
your views about it.
So what you, madam, stated and then you mentioned about that, when it comes to that Indian context, no, madam, we have Industrial Dispute Act 1947 is there. So under that act, there is a provision with respect to the appointment of the conciliation officer and then constitute of the board of conciliation by the appropriate government. So here it is a platform to bring both the parties to mutually resolve their issues. So again, it's another important thing. See, it allowed to constitute or an appointment of the mediator or the conciliation officers. Just they are acting as a facilitators.
Yes.
So they used to be prepared. Maybe, may not be. Issues may be resolved. So ultimate object is to be, it should be resolved only. But in Indian context, this is not happening. Even if a matter is resolved also, there is a scope with respect to the approaching of the higher authority, or the government is going to lead that. Especially that if an industrial dispute arises, or if it is existed, apprehension is there. So ultimately, government is played an important role to refer that matter for the conciliation, that mediation only.
Yes.
So here, the officer is acting as a facilitator. When he's acting as a facilitator, he's not played any important role. So for resolving the issues, they themselves, one side employer representation, another side workers representation, or the union representation is there. But outcome is very important, man.
Yes.
So outcome, how you are going to be implement, then how you are going to be bring the settlement or the resolving of the issues. If there is no legal weightage for this, then what is the impact, or what is the sanctity for even then if it is there, appointing or referring the matters to the mediator?
So you mean to say that there is no legal binding on this? Whatever
No,
they are
legally,
discussing?
madam, see here what happened, no? See, as per IDEA, I concentrated the Industrial Dispute Act 1947 because it's exclusively protective laws with respect to the working classes. So there is a scope with respect to the mediation process. So ultimately, if a matter is referred to the a conciliation officer to mediate and to resolve that. See, that person is going to be just acting as a facilitator. That's all. Used to be listen from both the sides. That's all. Just used to be help to both the parties to resolve they themselves. They may come to the conclusion in the form of an agreement, may not be. That
Yes,
is in the form of the settlement. So
yes,
here, if a settlement, if it comes to an end in the form, then only it can be called as a matter is resolved. That is not an end point. Again, further, a process is there challenging of the settlement. That means to approach to the other authorities under the act itself. Then what is the significance? So my view is that yes, no doubt, law is providing an opportunity to mediate it in a workplace to resolve the disputes between the employer and the workman. So why you can't make that the mandatory one? Like arbitration award is there. So again, in the same act itself, there is a component called as a arbitration process is there, madam. So when an arbitrator is resolved that matter, that it will consider as an arbitrator award. It has its own legal weightage. Why you can't extend the same thing then?
yes. I think, Dr. Vividya, it is mediation is now the agreement is valid. The conciliation agreement also is very much valid
It's
legally.
valid, madam.
We
As
can,
per
we can ask Push to come in here. Push, what are your views on this? Is it not valid agreement when we are doing conciliation? We are as
No,
such are not doing mediation right now in the labor issues, but
see,
conciliation is a valid agreement, right?
yeah, Sonal, the understanding which we have in Indian scenario, basically, whosoever does any mediation efforts outside the court and ex premises, court and ex mediation center, that is called as conciliation.
Yeah.
yes,
But generally, the public it as mediation only.
yes,
Conciliation is
yes,
still
ma'am.
not a word which is accepted by many, but it is more or less the thin line is there between mediation and conciliation, but people take it as mediation. So it has its own sanctity like an award which is there in arbitration. The problem which we face mostly because still we don't have that mediation act here in India, and there are different regulations, rules, and enactment which has pieces in bits and pieces about mediation, conciliation, touching everywhere, like industrial dispute, arbitration, and conciliation act. Then you have RERA, which is then now we have Section 12 in Commercial
Oh,
Court Act.
gosh.
So these are places consumer code. So we have enactments which are touching upon mediation in a form of conciliation in different ways. What we need is one standalone legislation which will every parliamentary session we wish like that this will be tabled, but let's see, maybe this March we may hope to have it. But coming out of what my if can I continue from here my views
Yeah.
Please,
on
please,
this?
madam. Please
Yeah.
proceed,
No,
So
madam.
I just wanted to ask
yeah.
you, basically conciliatory agreements, like Mr. Dr. VC has doubts, conciliatory agreements are perfect and very, very valid binding,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. They
Yes,
are
yes,
binding.
madam.
They are like contracts.
But
They have the value of an award which can be executed. So that's not an issue at all. It's a contract between two parties who are
parties,
major, who is done with full mind and full senses they have agreed to. What I am
yes,
talking, if I take it further, because what my previous speakers, Brenda and Dr. VC they are talking more about a stage wherein you need an attorney in a
yes,
workplace mediation.
yes,
What I'm going to advocate right now is I'm talking of something which is a stage prior to this.
You
Why
you
are
want to
we
talk
waiting?
you
Yeah,
are you
why?
want to talk about pre-mediation in workplace.
I want to talk about pre-mediation with a larger spectrum. See, one thing is very common, and we keep repeating that word: conflict is inevitable. It's not something which is uncommon. It is common. The only thing is one has to acknowledge that every life is affected with conflict. So workplace is not immune to this system.
yes,
People in a workplace are working for their own self because they are in a job. They are committed to their own self. There are certain tasks and projects, but they are ultimately answerable to the organization also. which have employed them. So there is a two-way relationship for your own self and for the larger people who are related to you in that project execution. All the members in the workplace are from diverse background. So what we need is we have to celebrate the diversity in the workplace, where we have people from different culture, different religions, they have their own beliefs and value system, and on the basis of which they form their own opinions, and sometimes they go through certain expectations also. But not all expectations are fulfilled when you're working with somebody in a organization, or even when you're in a family. So giving it a different tenor for a mediation in a family dispute or in work, by and large, what Brenda gave us the features, by and large the features remain same. But what we need is that should we be waiting for a time when actually the differences which originally occur between two teammates,
You mean
maybe horizontally or vertically, in the execution of a project, should we be waiting for the differences and the disagreements which is there right now, and when they escalate to a position of a conflict, should we be waiting for that target, should we be waiting for that point, or do we need to invest into a training program for the people in workplace, like your banner, Sonal? I salute the name which you gave to your banner, rectitude. Yes,
Yeah.
it is
I
about
like
right
it.
thinking, correct
Mhm.
behavior. So, in an organization and a workplace, what we need is to invest in a skill, a vital skill about your behavior, your mannerism, the way you interact with others. If you're giving a genuine criticism, or if you're genuinely disagreeing with certain thing, a manner in which your task has to be executed, the other person with whom you are in difference or a disagreement should be able to take that productively and positively. Because
Yes.
sometimes a criticism or a different opinion to execute a particular work gives you an evaluation about that project. Maybe that may be in a good way also, but not everyone in the organization takes that as a suggestion. They take it as a criticism, and that criticism is that one criticism is a small symptom about a war
Distress.
in pipeline.
Yes, yes.
If
Destruction.
you do not check that symptom and cure that symptom there and then, it will lead to an escalation.
yeah.
So what we need is a investment into a training of the people who are employed and who are like boss to many in the team also. See, I'm
Yeah,
taking time, let me this,
I
because
agree.
it's going into flow. So sorry if I'm taking others' time, but since it's going into flow, so I want to weave it properly.
It's a
Many time in the organization, we are led by someone on the top, and there are
That is
different scales. But my immediate boss, maybe that immediate boss is a leader in his own self. But every leader are not with same personality. Some leaders are senior boss. Some leaders are directive, you do it in a particular manner and do it by this time frame, I want it. Some seniors and leaders are like, okay, this is the task, only thing what we are expecting is that we it's a timeline project, and we are answerable because something else is dependent. So we would like you execute as early as possible with best possible. So this is the way you phrase your words. So the more you have a leader who is directive or a collaborative or cooperative, that really impacts the productivity and functioning
Mhm.
in this. But and if see the in the workplace, there are different type of conflicts, task based conflicts. There is a particular task which you have to do, and then you have different teams who are there in that task. There are different team members who are working in that particular project. Not all, not even twins are same in their behavior. So why do you expect a person, fellow co-worker or a colleague in a workplace to behave exactly the way you are behaving? So what?
That's good.
Yeah.
we understand. Are you moving towards having an ombudsman service in the workplace? Uh,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I could
Yes.
figure that out. You
Yes.
know what? Yes, Brenda, I would like to have your views on that, because what is the difference between ombudsman and mediator? Because we had a conversation with Kauter also. She was on the platform. She is into leadership training. And at that time also we were talking about the flaws of having an ombudsman at the workplace and vis-a-vis a mediator with who is on the roles, and outsourcing this person from an institute, independent institute. What are the benefits of, that would be a good idea to come with here, because as Push is talking about disputes, she's also talking about leadership, she's talking about effective leadership. Now with effective leadership there comes a neutrality tag also involved, because if a person who is from management tries to, I should be neutral, but I should seem to be neutral. In your mind, I am not neutral. Whether I'm neutral or not, it's not, no, nobody
No,
is
no
looking at
concern.
my neutrality
No
inside the
concern.
mind. So
Okay, so
impression of neutrality. So there are three, four things here which have come direct onto you. So we would love to hear that. First of all, ombudsman versus mediator, and then in-house versus outsourcing. So there are two, three things that have come to you. Please guide us about that.
okay, what I can say is that thank you, Pushka. You make so many great points. That was, I mean, my mind was just going on, and I was thinking about what you were saying. So I think ombudsman and mediate, whatever an employer can do is a win-win. There is no wrong or right way. Anything to help employees have a better, safe, healthy working environment is what is needed. What I can say that I know that's happening right now, there are a lot of work environments right now where the companies and corporations, their mission statements are really matching what they're actually doing, especially manufacturers and things like that. So what I can say is that when you're in a workplace environment, and if you're experiencing some things like, the question is, how do you stop inappropriate behavior and workplace harassment? So let me just give you one example. Let's say that you're working in a workplace environment and everybody in the workplace know that you are a Jehovah Witness. Jehovah Witness is a type of religion, and you have your own beliefs or whatever. As a Jehovah Witness, you do not celebrate holidays. As a Jehovah Witness, you do not celebrate birthdays. Your manager, your supervisor, everybody in the corporation know, and this is an employer that has more than 50 people working for them. So they should be in line with Title VII EEO issues and compliance. So when the holiday comes, they decorate this person's cubicle, knowing that that's a violation. That's making that person feel a certain way because they are a Jehovah Witness and is violating their rights. If an ombudsman is there on site, that will kind of deter that and stop that early on. But to get a mediator to come in, that's going to take a little bit more time. So the point is, they're violating that person's right to be able to worship their religion and to have that be sacred to them. So what I'd like to say is that when it comes to workplace mediation and ombudsman, if you're working in an environment where people are making offensive and derogatory comments, engaging in physical or threatening intimidation, making derogatory comments about you, or stating, why is this person on military leave? They've been gone for 30 days. When are they coming back? Those types of things. Management, HR, and the company has an obligation to keep employees safe. And so what does that look like? That looks like management taking a look at their culture and their environment. And that's the thing. Some companies and corporations, they're only driven by spreadsheets. Let's just look at the bottom line. Are we making money? Are we projecting and meeting our goals and things like that? So sometimes management, I don't want to say that they're being insensitive, but for them, it's business, it's not personal. That's the one thing that I can say about that.
So when Push was telling that, leadership, that means she was also emphasizing on somebody from the in-house person should be there to see that. Yeah, that's what I'm coming at. to see that the employees are taken care of and these things do not escalate. So there is a person to de-escalate things if they are initiation. There is at the initiation stage. Yes, Push. Now, please.
That would be
Yeah,
the HR, I'm sorry, that would be HR management. So HR tends to work with business partners. Some of those business partners are ombudsmen. Some of those business partners are mediators that come in and help facilitate communication and work with the HR business partner as an HR business partner.
Yes. So
yeah.
there is a demand for this kind of a person in the industry who is trained like a mediator. That's what I think she wanted. Please emphasize what
Yeah, Sonal, I'll just add on to what I was saying previously and taking from Brenda and what you're trying to put on flow. See, earlier when you said ombudsman, I thought you're talking about Ubuntu theory, which is like I am because I am what because of my people in the organization. So basically, what I was trying to say is that leadership is fine, the investment which I was talking about, the training has to be for the employees individually also. They should know how to handle the conflict. See, to handle a conflict, one needs to develop a skill of understanding the conflict. For understanding, you have to go to the history of a conflict, the causes which, because of which the conflict is there. So who will give them this training? So if you have those awareness programs or trainings within the organization, when you're employed in an organization, maybe every month or after every few days, if you have an awareness program wherein you make people aware for their own self, you know, we should be doing introspection within ourselves, that particular thing which is irritating me, which is disrupting my concentration, my working productivity, is it because of my own behavior? Was I wrong in looking into situation the way I perceived of it? Many time it is just when we are unable to understand the perspective of a other person, why a particular person has behaved. By and large, mediation is all about letting people know the other person perspective and let others know why you are behaving in a particular manner. So we need a training within an organization, that don't wait for you to go to a senior level person, a manager or a boss in your system, that sir, we are in dispute, can you please mediate? But because as you rightly said, that again is a very difficult task. That boss or a manager may not be a neutral person.
Yes.
Exhibition of a neutrality needs lot of training. So that boss has been watching those two employees working for all these months and years, so he definitely will be holding some bias or
Yes.
some conception about those two people in conflict. So
I
what I'm
believe,
trying to say is,
yeah.
let first the employees themselves should know that the differences or disagreements are healthy also, but don't take it to a situation wherein difference in opinion becomes a difference between two individuals.
Yes.
When you are in disagreement with the person, initially those difference in opinion is about you disagree on certain actions or behavior. But if you try, like we have in mediation, how you handle conflict, many people are aggressive, accommodating, collaborative, they are avoiding. You have to see in what way you're handling a conflict. Sometimes we feel that okay, let it go on time, maybe with time it will disappear. It actually does not disappear, it gets more entrenched into the system, and which will then spiral through the organizational conflict cost, which it will damage. The productivity will go down, it will lower the morale of the team members, there will be more absentees, people will try to avoid, okay, let me not encounter that person, let me just take more of off. There was research I was looking on an internet, that 30 to 40% of the time and of the managers in an organization go into resolving an interpersonal dispute between the teammates, and many
Yes.
of the HR executives are busy in the litigations,
Yes.
dealing with engaging attorney. So why do, like, with prevention is better than cure, why can't we nip the problem in the bud itself, wherein we involve people to understand how to handle conflict, within themselves. Why lead it to a position when you need some so-called third person who may not be a neutral person, or you engage a mediator from outside the organization?
No,
A
but
mediator within an
I like
organization is
that.
sometimes very fickle.
yes,
I'd
that
like to add something if that's okay.
yes,
That's great what you're saying, Pushka. And I was just thinking there are companies and corporations here in the US that are doing that. What they do is they use mediator as an internal HR consultant. And what they do is they train their employees to handle early disputes. And what it looks like is that if a dispute arises, you have people on each team that are peers and they can facilitate the discussion. They just say, hey, let's go to the conference room. They'll go to the conference room and they'll talk it out. So early resolution is exactly what is needed. And that is what some companies are doing, like Coca-Cola is doing that. The United States Postal Service are doing that. And they call it value of the employee, where they go in and start their own internal HR mediation, early dispute resolution process. So I just want to add that.
Is it
Yeah.
peer discussion?
yes,
Madam, a peer discussion can be give a platform to that the mediation process. That's one thing.
yes,
Madam Push, she highlighted that one important things when it comes to the what do you call that, the mediation process among they themselves, that employees. So there is a diversification is there among they themselves. Even then, who is going to be lead and how we make these people to be come together to what do you call it, resolving of these things,
yes.
or to understand or collaborative or cooperative things, how we make them. See, if you are bring that outsider, he may represent the employer side, so there is a possibility of the biased also.
No, yeah. This is what Push, when you were saying that why don't you resolve amongst yourself, and no, there should not be a need to call someone from outside or hire
Third
someone
party
from
intervention.
outside, or even go to a higher authority or manager. Now, when things are happening wrong between two employees, you have to have somebody neutral, somebody who is not known to both of them. Neutrality is even confidentiality, because at some places, when things are going, and when people have to, because these points also count in your appraisal, that how much congenial you are in your environment. So people might not want to talk about their disputes. They might want to just leave the sleeping dogs lie. They might superficially act that we don't have anything inside between us, but they might be having a cold war going on between them. So how will that be handled if an independent person is not there?
See, this is what I'll again reiterate. You know, what I'm trying to say again and again is, maybe I can rephrase it and put it differently. See, like you said, it's a cold war. Sometime it may lead to a cold war. It may be a
Yes,
proxy war also.
Yeah.
yes.
Many times within the organization, we are unaware of the contributories to this conflict.
Yes.
You may be the face, but the
Yes.
person who is the contributory behind this, it may be the manager himself, maybe
Yes.
the immediate boss, or a teammate who has a rivalry with you, or a competition with the opposite teammate. So again, going to the root, whether you'll fall trap of these, or whether you yourself can be aware, let me see whether somebody is using me for to achieve their target to reach. Because
Yeah,
in
yeah. This
workplace,
is there, madam. In normal,
it's a
we,
complex, the system, the competition have gone to such a level that people are, pulling and pushing everybody backward to reach out
yes,
to a top. So that
Yeah.
rivalry leads to an ego, and ego leads to an revenge. And that revenge, ultimately, they are not working on production, or they are not working upon, completing the task. Most of the time, they are into how I can ruin this person and how I can reach to. And in a way, they try to appease their boss. They play politics. So that political game which is going, you cannot see. Even if you become aware of handling a conflict by understanding, by looking into your own, like in mediation we talk about your own body behaviors,
Yes.
whether what right now I'm speaking matches up to my body behavior or not, because sometimes I might not have said something, but my body behavior was such which might have given a rude indication that she's a boss, she has attitude. So that disconnection, that communication, again the thread of communication, which whether we have passive communicators, whether we have active communicators, so the communication which is important, which is going around within the team, whether that's positive or negative, who will measure this, who
Yes.
will see which is what is
Yeah.
important right now, so that awareness for the people about when you are in conflict, in disagreement with someone, you need an open dialogue. You need to voice your opinion. If somebody shuttles down and say no, no, please just keep quiet, not required, so that is the end. That is something which will not end the conflict, rather it will come back in many ways,
That's
larger ways.
but
that's
but
So
but in workplace, madam, in workplace,
Hmm.
see what push madam state, that's right. But the boss or the employer or the manager, they try to be pull. So under these situation or circumstances, how we can give a platform to these persons, that employees to open up and to
Yes.
exhibit and express.
Yes, this is what we are discussing. We have the problem in our hand, but the solution is what we are looking at, because when somebody is in dispute or they are feeling this kind of emotions, we should also understand that they are not in a state of mind to think critically, logically at that time.
Yes.
That what you are saying, Push, that somebody might be using me. Fine, somebody might be using me. At this time, when somebody is using me, I'm not in my logical mind to think about that, because I am going on my instincts and my behavior and my emotions at that time. That's what Brenda was also reiterating, and I wanted to hear that also, because that's where the role of an
right.
ombudsman or a person independent, where you can, if I can say, if I can use the word agony aunt, somebody whom I can go and cry my problem out. Look, I am facing this. Those agony aunts somewhere. Where that's a very vague term, but yes, at that time when I'm facing the emotional turmoil, when I'm going through a very illogical phase in my life, and it's affecting my life, I really need someone who can be an agony aunt to me, whether it is not thinking about the gender, but anybody for that matter, whom I can go and vent out. And that person is going to, at least that person should be a critically, logically thinking human being who is trained to handle these kind of issues. So
So
that's what I was
yeah,
Absolutely.
so I'll just
And what
add
I'd like,
here, just a moment, Brenda. So what I'm, see, we all are in consensus in a way. There are three ways, where we need an investment. One is this self-awareness, self-training,
yes,
how to behave and how to interact and collaborate in an atmosphere which needs a teamwork. One
yes,
is this,
yes.
which may, help escalation of a differences into a conflict. Second is
De-escalation, you
the,
mean?
yeah.
De-escalation.
So second is the managers themselves, who is the boss, they should be given a
Sensitized.
training that if a difference arises within your team, within the organization, how you would be handling. One is this, so that this person within the organization could be a conciliator between the two people in conflict, and that person has to,
Or let's
again,
call him an ombudsman. Yeah,
yeah, maybe a person in authority
yeah.
who before whom you can vent out. If supposingly this person is not sufficient enough to deal with a particular type of a conflict which needs a person from outside, you take a
Expert,
mediation service
expert, madam.
provider from outside.
Expert,
Yeah.
Yes. So
expert.
that's the third, which is like they can come to us. We are there. We are there
Yeah.
as
So
mediators. So
that's where I wanted to ask Brinda also, that how things go on when these are the three stages actually. When it is at the de-escalation stage, that's what Pushp was talking about. Awareness helps. Second stage is when the awareness as is of no good use. I am really feeling bad in the organization. My mind is my emotions, my mind, my everything is being uh, I am not able to manage. Now I go to the second step is the somebody in the organization, which may be an ombudsman, whether you call it an HR personnel, whether a personal relationship manager, who is trained for this kind of disputes, handling these disputes. When these people are not able to handle inside the organization, and it has become it has become a group activity now, so it's beyond this person's power or providence, or they themselves don't trust. You are from the organization, you know this person also, you know me also, you were talking very nicely to this person, so you are biased. Now where neutrality and bias also comes in, then obviously the third person or the third step would be to take someone's help outside, to outsource, to outreach. So that's what I wanted to talk about. In there, when you do workplace mediation, you are doing as an independent person from away from the organizations, or you are as an empaneled person with them. That we want to know.
Okay, wow, that's a lot. But what I can say is that this is really good. I love it. This is so my lane. So what I want to talk about is cases that are a part of a corporation, and then those mom and pop type mediation. So first I'd say, let's say it's a family owned business and there's a workplace dispute. When I say family, we're talking husband, wife, uncle, where it's a small business. So if someone has a workplace conflict in that organization, it is very sensitive, it's emotional, and it tugs on your heartstrings. So it has to be handled a certain way. And then there are those instances when that particular case may be beyond mediation, to where there is violence or some other type of situation where a mediator is not going to be able to help because it's beyond the process. So one of the things I could say, if it's a workplace situation, the number one thing we need to talk about is sympathy and empathy. Every employee, no matter who they are, deserves sympathy and empathy. And in a workplace environment, when you're using transformative and facilitative, there is an opportunity to have sympathy and empathy for that employee. Just setting the parties at ease, giving them an opportunity to hear what is not being said. So that means going slow. And that means going slow and listening to them and using the appropriate actions and the appropriate words so that they can feel at ease.
You pointed out something very interesting, that you are talking about businesses where families are involved. So we also in India have joint family system where families own their business. Were you talking about that kind of a situation here where work and families are both involved?
Yes, because there are family-owned businesses where, everybody works together and they have a workplace dispute. And I'm thinking of one I did recently where it was just like beyond mediation. You know what I mean? We couldn't help them because they needed to go for counseling and therapy and things like that. So, every mediator should have a referral source list. But just back to what Pusha was saying, when you're in a workplace environment and the case is intense and it's been ongoing, and let me just back up and say, I really agree with the fact that disputes should be handled early on, and an ombudsman being on site to investigate that thing right away is very, very helpful, and it's a good thing. However, I think that mediators can be very helpful in that they're coming from the outside and do not have any internal influence, like an ombudsman may or may not have, because there are certain things you should and should not do as an ombudsman and a mediator. So what a lot of workplaces are doing here is that they're having groups. They're doing, how do I want to say it? Focus groups internally to see if there's a need for workplace mediation on site internally. So when they're doing those types of focus groups, what they determine is there is a need. So how do we handle that need and who's a part of that? So when you have employees even having conflict on trying to put even a focus group together, then you're talking about the culture of the workplace. And you can't address the conflict without addressing the culture of the workplace. So everybody bring their biases, and it can be very difficult when you're trying to facilitate conflict when there are so many biases. So I think addressing the biases will be one thing, because in order to put a group together to work effectively, whether they're going to be leaders or not, you have to address their biases, and that sometimes deter the entire situation. Even though you have good faith efforts and intentions on doing something, you have to address those issues before you can move forward and create and any type of collaborative organization or group. And as far as leadership goes, oftentimes the direction comes from the top. So those people who are underneath are doing things that they don't want to do and don't know why they're doing them, but it's coming from somebody that's above their pay grade. So that also can cause conflict when management and CEO are not interested in how the processes and procedures are working or not working.
So they are just interested in whatever the work to be done, but how the procedure or what employees are facing, they're not much bothered.
The needs of the service, and
Like
are we meeting our quotas? Are we getting those processes and procedures done properly? What's our bottom line on the spreadsheet? Sometimes is I don't want to say that they're insensitive, but it's just business and it's not personal all the time. And I think with mediation and ombudsman and being on site or starting any type of program to where conflict management can help people, it's a good thing. Because we really just it actually all kind of boils down to emotional intelligence. You're controlling your emotions and being responsible for yourself and what that might look like.
Yes, that's what I think Push was also reiterating there, that emotional intelligence should be developed, saving oneself from the dispute, first of all, that the first step to train people to save themselves from the dispute. Second stage is like she was telling about the management coming in or somebody higher up coming in. Third stage is outreaching or outsourcing.
And one thing that's on my mind, like right now, a lot of things that are happening is workplace violence. Workplace violence is on the rise. Walmart is like really on the map because they've had 2 incidents that's happened in the past 2 months where people have actually died. So there's a need for companies and corporations like Walmart, Amazon, and other employers to consider using mediators like myself and other mediators around the country who can help them stop workplace violence early on, because in most of those situations, the employees and even the police knew that these employees had issues and nobody did anything until it was too late. So workplace mediation, I think, is needed. It saves money, saves times, keep employees safe, stop violence. But the main thing also is to just take a look back at how the workplace has changed. You have a different generation of workers now. So to accommodate them, you have to be flexible. The type of employees that are coming up, the Gen X, the millennials, the Gen Zs, their work ethic is a little bit different from the baby boomers. So I think that curbing workplace violence should be like a major thing for all countries, not just the US, all over the world, to stop workplace violence and eliminate guns and people who have mental issues from not being heard. And that's the thing with mediation, workplace, divorce, real estate, whatever it is, people want to feel like they're being heard. When people feel like they're being heard, it can change their life.
That is nice and a good perspective. But Push, please continue.
Yeah, I'll just add to this workplace, the problems which is arising. I'll add on to this about POSH, which we have here in India, prevention of sexual harassment at the workplace for women's. That came in 2013. That is also one of the, I think, decent legislation we have had in our country in recent times, because it has really brought in a lot of change within the organizations. I'm attached to various organizations. I'm part of their internal committee. And in last, I think I can say 2.5 years, when I'm associated with 2, 3, there have not been a single complaint of sexual harassment. And the reason being, the regular awareness programs the organization run in their setup for male and female both, that what kind of things are constituted as sexual harassment, how they should stay away from this, what are the repercussions, the damages it leads to. So again, I'll come back to this, that awareness is very important, as Brinda was saying, empathy and sympathy, emotional intelligence. One has to, have that emotional intelligence. If you are in conflict with someone, the root cause of the same may not be because of some misbehavior within the organization. It could be that person was facing some problem at personal front. That may
Yes,
be the reason because of which he behaved in a manner in the organization which led to a difference or disagreement, and which escalated to the situation which ended up into ego clash. And so, and when you voice your opinion, when you voice your feelings, your hurt, under when you're going through your discomfort and distress, you actually come to know that this person was going through some personal turmoil, and he confessed that, listen, I'm not like this, but since I was growing through certain problem at my
problem.
personal front, I behaved it in a manner, and I promise, because sometimes apology also works well, forgiveness works well. Everything need not be taken into like in punishment. So when you sit across and talk to people, then you come to know that the reason is someone else, not you, and
Yes.
you
Yes,
take it on
it's
you.
correct, madam.
You are doing it to me. Why have you done that? I thing, that is something which is very fatal. So this is what, I thanks to Sonal for organizing such chit chat programs, through which you learn, and it improves and improvises your own expression and thought. So tomorrow, if I go and do some delivery on a presentation on posh, and I go for a PPT, then I'll remember Sonal, Brinda, and Dr. VC. It will help me, give better expression to what is workplace conflict is. So
Yes,
thanks to all of you,
correct,
each
madam.
one of you, for this
Thank you,
beautifully
madam. Thank you.
explained.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your
Yeah,
Yes.
thank,
informative
thank you. And Pushka,
discussion
I
and
just
then
like to
words.
say,
That was really wonderful and a nice perspective, Push, because you brought the first point that you brought, which generally is overlooked. The point that it is better to train people to understand each other, because
Yes.
that's the bottom line actually. That's the bottom of the
That's only way is to create the awareness, madam.
yes,
So by
definitely.
way of creating awareness among this, no, even that we can what do you call it? We can set out platforms to come together and emotionally what that Brenda states with respect to the empathy and then sympathy. So sometimes among they themselves there is a ego clash. What Push Madam stated right. So to overcome all these things, it's a necessary requirements there to proper awareness things. Then it's very easy.
Yeah. And wellness programs, like you were saying,
Yes,
it is part of your wellness. So
yes,
that is the first step to go towards, you know, many institutes have their EQ tests also when they are hiring employees. What
yes,
kind of an employee they are hiring, because people are aware now that if they bring someone who is not congenial, the whole work environment can go for a fix.
yes,
That also is happening, and so that was a wonderful perspective, and we had almost 1 hour now. So that was wonderful, and Yes, any closing comments, Push? You were about to say something?
No, you keep on organizing such kind of talks. Thanks to you. We are learners for life, and through this chit chat with open mind, we definitely going to, embrace lot of things for our own self, for our own
Yes.
improving. There's so much to improve within our own self. Then we can deliver to the outside world and mediate. So thanks to you, Sonal, for bringing such luminaries in this chit chat show. And my best wishes, dear friend, always to you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
madam.
You
Thank
Actually,
you,
are
same
Dr.
to
you
you.
are
VC.
one of
Bye, Brinda.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
God.
you
And
are
I
one
just
of
Be
want
in
to
those.
say,
touch.
thank you so much, Sana. You know, when the heart is pure, the mind is clear. And I am so grateful that I had this
Thank
opportunity to
you.
meet all of you. Thank you, Pushpa.
Namaste.
I learned a lot and have a wonderful evening. I know it's evening there, and I appreciate you guys. I'm excited to talk to you again.
Thank
Wonderful.
you, Bundan.
And
Good day.
you
Take care.
all are wonderful people, and I'm glad to have you all here. And Push, that was really good and nice of you. And you are one of those illuminaries. And we will have you once again on the show because this is
Yes.
not
Anytime.
yet over. We'll have
Thank you,
we have
Sonal, man.
exclusive sessions
Thank you.
on POSH also. So that's wonderful. And Dr. VC, that was a very good perspective from you. I understand you have had a big day, all of you would have had after your offices, and it's
Yes, yes.
early morning for Brinda. So thank you so much. It's a
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
lovely
man.
session.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sonal, man.
Namaste from India, Brinda. Take care. Thanks, Sonal.
Okay.
Dr. VC, stay in touch.
Thank you.
Nice
Take care,
name.
madam. Please
Bye
keep
bye.
in touch,
Take care.
madam.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Please.